Hey, this is Darren from Property Prosperity. I just came off a phone call today from someone that was interested in building, and well, they were a bit weren't 100% convinced whether they should build a house or not. And the reason they didn't want to build a house because they were worried that they were renting at the moment, and so they thought if I don't know if you know, but basically there's a thing called a house and land package. So a house and land package means you buy a block of land and then you build a house on top of it, and then you obviously move into the house once it's finished. You're signing two contracts. One contract's for the land and one contract's with a builder to build the house. So generally what happens is a time period between, obviously you buy the land, then you get all the approvals done, and then they start building the house and the house gets built. And so there's a period of time there where you own the land, you're paying interest on that land, and then likewise when the house starts to get built, you start to pay interest as with houses, you sort of, as they're getting built, you pay for things as they happen. So that means that as the house is getting built, you draw down the loan. So let's say the loan's for $200,000, draw down $50,000 a loan, and then the next loan will be another $50,000, so it might be $100,000, and then suddenly, so your loan is going up and up and up for the house, and likewise you get the loan for the land sitting there. And so concern for people is, hey, well, I'm struggling to pay my rent as it is. That's the reason I'm buying, a new house. But then I've got this issue. Then while the house is being built, I'm stuck with the situation where I'm paying rent and I'm having to pay interest on this block of land, and then obviously the interest on the house once the house starts to get built. So it creates this financial stress on people, and then they're like, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to that point. I can see once I get the house built, I can move into it, I'm going to be a lot better off, but how do I get to that point? So that's why I thought I'd explain this to everybody tonight. So basically the first thing to understand is that that there is ways around you can't necessarily avoid the interest because you are, at the end of the day, drawing down that loan. But there's ways that you can actually delay the interest. So what that's called is capitalize the interest. And so as far as the banks can, let's imagine there's a block of land for $200,000 and then the house is worth $200,000. So the first thing you do is buy the block of land. And so you're going to be paying interest on that block of land. So imagine it's like $1,000 a month. So the first month you paid $1,000 worth of interest. So ordinarily you'd have to pay for your rent and then pay out the extra $1,000 on top, which for a lot of people is quite difficult. So what you can actually do is ask the bank whether they'll let you capitalize the loan, like adding the interest to the loan. So that means after the first month, instead of your loan balance being $200,000, it'll be $201,000. And then after the second month, instead of the loan being $201,000, it'll be $202,000. So what that means, let's say it takes 6 months to build your house. At the end of that time period, your loan's going to be $206,000 rather than it be $200,000 for the land portion of it. So, hey Debbie, thanks for joining. And so yeah, hopefully that makes sense. So what you're doing is you're adding the interest on the loan. Basically what that does mean though, you're going to have a bigger loan at the end of it. So you will be paying interest on top of the interest, which means it's going to be more expensive for you. So it's not necessarily a good thing. But if that means you're in a situation there where you're not massively stressed out trying to work out how you're going to pay for the rent and how you're going to pay for the build interest, the land interest and the build interest, then just do it. At the end of the day, it's all about being able to sleep at night and not being so stressed. So that's definitely my advice on what people should be doing. That's what developers do. You see these development sites where, you can imagine they're subdividing to 10 or 20, or they're building a big apartment complex where there's 100 apartments. What developers do, they do exactly the same thing. They negotiate with the bank saying, hey, I haven't sold these apartments yet, and I'm not really going to be able to afford to pay the interest on the loan. So can I capitalize the interest on the loan while the development's happening? So they'll buy the site, and then as the build is happening for their apartment complex, the bank is actually adding the interest onto the loan. And so what that means is the developer, they're going to get their money at the end when they sell the apartments off, and so the bank's happy just to wait until the apartments are sold off, and they'll repay the original loan amount plus the interest that was accumulated during that build portion of it. So I suppose you can understand it's a pretty smart way of doing it, and at the end of the day, it creates a lot less stress for you. So generally, I'd always advise people, if that's the ability they can do that. If they've got some spare cash sitting in the bank at the end of the day, then pay down the interest as you go, because what that means is you're not going to be paying interest on top of interest you're not going to have a bigger loan when the build's finished. But if you're in a situation where you are quite stressed and you're worried how you're going to be able to afford it, then yeah, that's definitely my advice, is just have a chat to your bank, see if you can capitalize the interest, it's called. Some other banks, there's a particular lender in South Australia called Homestart. They're totally geared towards people that are struggling to get into the housing market. And so they have a construction loan, a loan to build a house. Their construction loan allows you to what's called capitalized interest. And so yeah, that's an example of one where it's it's definitely possible to do that. And so yeah, just have a chat to your lender, find out whether it's possible. And if they say no, it's not possible, then have a chat to a mortgage broker. A mortgage broker will then have a good look around to all the different lenders and try and find one that's going to be able to suit you. Because at the end of the day, if there's heaps of benefits towards building, and if that's the only reason you're not going to build a house, then really have a look for a solution, see if you can try and solve that problem. So hopefully that's made some sense to you, and if you've liked what I had to say, then click on the like button. If you haven't liked it, then still click on the like button, because I really appreciate it. And yeah, if you know someone's thinking about building and they're not really sure because they're worried about how am I going to afford to pay the interest along the way, yeah, click on the share button and hopefully they might find it interesting. And if you've got something you'd like me to chat about in a future episode, then feel free to put a comment in the comment box. And even if you just want to give me some feedback on my purple shirt or anything else that I've had to say tonight, then yeah, put a comment in the comment box. I'd really appreciate some feedback just to know that yeah, you're enjoying what I've had to say. So thanks guys, I really appreciate it, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Bye.